This is episode 2 of Real Eyes Radio. We're jumping right in.
Well, we made it. We made it to episode 2.
Yeah.
We made it through the fire. So episode 1 launched last week, and I felt that it was a true indication of the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish here. And it might have been a little rough. We were working through a couple of things, still trying to find our flow together, but I'm really proud of it, and I'm really excited for what's next.
I thought it was great. It was really good. Once you forget that you're recording anything and just hear a conversation, it just flows more naturally.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the hardest part, trying to be natural, just trying to jump in. When you're a guest, you just kind of are invited into the flow of the existing show. Now we have to create that current for all of us to be in. And it's not easy. I have such a newfound, profound respect for all of the shows that we've been guests on, all of the podcasters that are in our little group. It takes a lot of work getting it off the ground, keeping the energy going. There's a lot of emotion that goes into it. There's a lot of work, and I'm just really proud that you guys are along with me on this. I can't believe it, how it all kind of came together really naturally, and it's just kind of a crazy story of how we all landed here. But I'm really thankful to have this platform to share with you guys. Rambo and Murph, you guys are the best. Yeah.
Same to you.
How did we get here? How did we get here, y'all?
I think with the Q stuff, it was so engineered and created by people who were very, very intelligent. And the people who created this stuff were, I hate to say genius, but, borderline genius, sick genius, but genius nonetheless. Is that if somebody's somewhat disillusioned with what they see, and they even look at a smidgen, the smallest amount of information that the Q stuff is there, because of the themes involved, the children's stuff, it's almost like I don't think that somebody can look at that and not fall into it. I think that's a large part of it. When you get into it, you lose all sense of perception to realize how absurd it is. Mm-hmm. Only when you get out of it and look back in hindsight, you can see it. But even still, there was just like the South Park episode that was going through and did a kind of satire on the Epstein Pizzagate kind of stuff. And I just retweeted it without a comment. And I kind of wanted to see how many people would see that it was satire, and how many people would see that, South Park is finally spilling the beans. Mm. And it was interesting because maybe 15, 10% of the people were thinking that, this is, it's right. People would write things like, it's, like the truth is right there in front of us. And they didn't realize it was satire, which comes into the whole thing of we have a big problem with where people label things fake. Is like they're not realizing that what we're seeing is kind of the people who create this stuff is almost they think it's artwork. They think that they're telling stories to people, and the stories in the past were stories that the audience would go to feel a release of tension. The stories we're told now are the loose stories that instigate tension, and we've lost track of the difference between magic and illusion. We've lost track of the difference between art and fakery. Mm-hmm.
Wow. You've made so many incredible points. At the top of it, you said something that I think it so beautifully illustrates exactly what we're going through. And you mentioned how fascinating this whole tableau is, how richly alluring it is, entertainment. And Rambo used a phrase just recently about mesmerizing. It's truly a mesmerizing story, a mesmerizing world, so much so that we get pulled in. We get absolutely lulled and pulled into this vortex of Pizzagate, of Pedogate. It is designed to spiral us energetically, emotionally. Even though it's disgusting and something you would never want to imagine, it is entertaining.
Because they put the symbols in there. They keep you following the trail, don't they? And it leads you to certain celebrities, and
you see it everywhere. Because the symbols are everywhere.
Yeah, like a signature.
Yeah, it's a signature. It's a signature of the deception. That's what I think. And I think when we see the symbols, the colors, the numbers, this set design is so well done. It's meant to fascinate the audience, and we are unwitting audience members to the show.
It's really a philosophical question,
Mm.
and probably not appropriate for Twitter, to be quite honest with you.
Well, we're on a podcast now. This isn't just Twitter.
No, and I know. It's just because someone with the comments or everything is so great. Someone wrote something saying that I was confusing ontology with epistemology, and I realized that there was like courses and kind of like intro to philosophy courses that I completely forgot about. It's been so long since I looked at those kinds of things, but it's like one of them is like we look at everything's with the whole everything is fake stuff. Is it you get into the subject of what is real, not just events per se, like whether or not the Sarah Everhard lady is a fictional character or whatnot, but what being consists of, which is kind of it leads to, and that's a scary topic.
I think that's an excellent tee up for our first question. You know how we asked some questions on Twitter a while ago, and we got
Oh
yeah.
yes.
So I think that this is actually it leads into this question that I think it would be really interesting to kick around. Is freedom an illusion? And how far back in history, if ever, did humans have true freedom?
I think in terms of freedom, like questioning whether or not freedom is an illusion or whatnot. I mean, you could have two different people. One person living like a multimillionaire with ostensibly material freedom to not have to work or per se, and these people are killing themselves. Then you have someone say in prison who hasn't seen fresh air in 30 years, and in their mind, they don't realize that they're even in a prison. Who's more free? I'd say the man in the prison is more free, who doesn't even realize that he's in a prison. And I think we have things kind of backwards and look at it define it from a materialist point of view. Not materialist like a pejorative thing, just materialism prism.
We're like kind of locked in a mental prison with all the entertainment we put on that keeps us locked in.
Yeah, I think a large part of what we're talking about when we talk about like like the practical matters of like the vaccine issue, or kind of the topics of the day, is that mainstream media or media in general is giving people like a black or white, a dualistic option, and that's kind of a prison within itself, because somebody bounces from the first option and goes to the second option thinking that they're that they're going against the grain, but they're really doors that were constructed for them, instead of saying, well, wait a second, maybe both of these doors aren't right.
Mm. Yeah, which of our choices are truly ours? If we only have door number one and door number two to choose from, but both of them have been constructed.
Somebody made a great comment. You mentioned the mud flood.
Mhm.
The thought that I never thought of, but mud flood, muddying the waters, right?
Oh,
Right, and
yes,
almost like both a figurative and literal,
yes.
an explanation for what happened in the mid 19th century.
Oh,
Because even I was watching a video yesterday on the ether, and somebody was mentioning that ether, that radio, that the initial experiments supposedly on radio waves that were done in the 17th century, which is odd, because I thought it was always the 19th century is when they talk about radio waves being first coming about, but they talk about the 17th century, saying that radio was initially called ether,
hmm, okay.
and that's why we have Ethernet cables.
Hmm,
That's why the internet was initially called the Ethernet.
mm.
So radio was initially called ether because that's the medium under the medium whereby light and sound waves transfer. I mean,
Yes, that's so interesting.
it goes through the air,
It does.
which
It
is
travels through the air.
and that's why everyone's curious. Where's the ether? It's like, well, it's the air that we breathe, literally,
It's all around.
and everything that's comprising everything. So of course you can't find it. Um,
That's
but,
so
uh, but but
interesting.
but but the interesting thing is, before the period of when I looked on the Wikipedia and I Googled, radio, ether, history of radio, I couldn't find anything via Google that spoke of radio being investigated even
Hmm.
prior to 1820s, 1830s.
Wow, that's incredible. Especially when you mentioned that there was already discussion of it in the 1700s. And they seem to
In the
be quite 1600s.
1600s.
Oh, the 17th century, correct? Yeah, they
Yeah.
already seem to be quite aware of it. Yeah.
And how do we know if these things weren't just already there? And you got to invent characters to explain how we came up with it as opposed to finding it. Kind of similar to Tesla.
100%. We 100%. We touched on this a little bit last time with like the Zuckerberg formula, or the dropout. They kind of come out of nowhere. They didn't actually graduate college. They have no real track record in life. And then they come into existence and are the frontmen for for these really wildly successful companies that end up changing the way that we live our lives as real humans. So these real implications. And you mentioned Tesla with Elon, and I think he's a quite a character.
They put these people out there, don't they? Like Teslas and stuff like that. It's like we think there's a person behind all this stuff that he did, kind of thing. We think there's a person, but let's say that it wasn't already here.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. These technologies already exist, and they just need a frontman. They just need a character.
There's nothing new. They're just drip feeding it to us.
Yes, they're just drip feeding us throughout history, even from the advent of, let's say, like the film, like, the first photograph ever taken, the first movie, the first motion picture, which was a galloping horse, which actually looks really fabricated. It looks like a GAN, looks like a computer export, like a GAN horse galloping. I don't even think I think that's a fake video of them, and then they're telling us it's the first real video. But I think that's just another way of them feeding us a false input, telling us X is Y
From the start.
From the start, exactly. And that goes back to, and so who knows when it was really, there's a reason they wanted us to have this type of technology at that specific time, and they keep rolling it out, just like the internet and just like cellular.
And that's why I always
and,
say it's conditioning us. That's what conditioned us to believe whatever it is on the screen is real.
Yeah, the screens are our god.
You can't question it. If you do, you're crazy.
Yeah, if you question what you hear on the news, that we get our news through our screens. If you question what you hear on the news, you are labeled crazy.
Like, there was one here in the UK just recently, and Sarah Everard, she was called.
Yeah.
And I said to a friend, "Oh, it's fake. It's fake. That it's not. It's a story to bring in kind of a new law or such Sarah's law or something that's got to be coming." So it's about a 33-year-old woman who went missing on the 3rd of the 3rd, and they announced finding the body today on the 12th of the 3rd. She's 33 again, and her name in the numerology is 12, like 3 again. Arrested a 48-year-old suspect for it, who's 4 and 8, she's 12 again, who's number 3. It's just full of numbers. It's like definitely murder by numbers. It's a fake ritualistic
murder by numbers.
murder.
Yeah. It is murder by numbers, but not in the way you think.
When I look at the story, I just see 3s all over it, and if you look at comments on it, everybody's like really sorry for the family, and
oh yeah,
it's a big thing over here at the minute. We even seen like somebody saying about getting a curfew for men. That's 6 p.m. for it.
Right. Because
Yeah, I heard that too.
So this woman, she was attacked. The story goes that this 33-year-old woman, and this is in the UK, this 33-year-old woman, she was attacked, and it was, a male on female crime, and this is indicative of how the temperature is in the entire nation. And
it's a policeman, so
and he was a
police can't be trusted.
So the police can't be trusted. That's a big layer. That's a big layer of this police on civilian brutality. We see it here in the United States. The biggest story right now is coming back with the George Floyd settlement that just got announced today, and that was a police on civilian, quote unquote, crime, and that's what
That was settled today.
That was it was announced today, just before we started recording, that there was going to be a $27 million payout to the family of George Floyd because of the George Floyd event.
As a civil case, not the criminal case is still going on.
I believe it's just from the city, a city payout.
Oh wow!
And that when you see these stories, that's how you can see it's got to be about positive and negative energy, you know. So
Yes.
at one minute we've got this woman killed, and then the next minute you've got George Floyd's family's got to pay out. So a lot of people would be happy about that, you know.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. The power is in the polarity, and the pendulum swing in both directions. That's what creates the most significant energy, for lack of a better word, energy suck, energy harvest. Like they can swirl up the most energy with us when they feed us both ends of the spectrum. So we have the exaltation of hope with this payout on one end, and then we're also being fed this really extraordinarily looshy, scary, traumatic, dangerous story of this woman, 33-year-old woman getting, horrifically, brutally murdered by a policeman, and her body was just found. And every woman should be scared now. Women really shouldn't even be outside. Men shouldn't be anywhere near women.
They're telling us on the radio here. They're telling us on the radio to, if we see a woman, if you're a man and you see a woman, to cross the road and call your friend.
Wow.
As to not let women walk the streets in fear.
Wow.
That's what it was saying on the advert, and it's like, it's crazy.
That's so interesting. And we're already so divided. The whole world with Corona, one thing we learned is that we need to be distanced. We need to distance ourselves from others. And that was a pervasive message. Everybody on the planet heeded that message in one way or the other. And now I feel like a lot of the fear around the virus is dissipating a bit. People are kind of getting back to their normal day-to-day lives. They realize, we're lessening our fear around the virus. And so I feel like on the other hand, we're because of that, we're being fed all these new stories that are getting us back into this idea of distancing.
It tells a story that something that's happened in the UK has made it to America again. It's like, they want us all to know.
From day one.
Us all to know about,
Yeah, from day one. From like the moment she went missing, we all knew her name. It was like the top of, and we're plugged in because we're on Twitter. But there's a reason that we were all being shown this woman, her face, and all the photos of her look very generic. There's usually like a washed out white background. There's no sense of place or time. She's got this her name is also one of those just slightly off names that don't really exist. Oh, I did a targeted search of her. There's really there's no record of her existence prior to 1/01/2020. Like and that's as far into the future as I went. But like she really doesn't exist outside of this story. If you take away missing, police, murder, all these key words, everything that brings her into these stories right now, she doesn't seem to exist.
And if you zoom in onto the picture and look into the pupils of her eyes, they're kind of like the Madeleine McCann eyes, the pupil where it's a bit off.
Oh, it has that deformation that the Madeleine McCann eye had. That's really interesting. I didn't notice that. I need to zoom in on that. That's really interesting. That seems to be, what are the odds? What are the odds that this 1 in a million eye anomaly, Rambo, to your point, I think that you're right. It's more indicative of them being a computer-generated face with an anomaly within the image, and less of an actual rare congenital disease that these characters share. Yeah.
What do you think of John Podesta's hands?
Which time when he had like the fish and the
he was holding them
up?
The reason why I say it is because when you guys mentioned that, somebody was looking at the.
Why would anybody pose for a photograph like that?
But his fingers and his hands look mangled.
Yeah, I don't think that John Podesta exists anymore. He's in my new category. Just like I do not believe that there was ever a living, walking human being on this planet named John Podesta, or his brother Tony Podesta.
It sure would explain a lot because, well, first of all, you have the name itself has pedophile, pederasty.
I know, of course.
Right? And then secondly, it would explain how Chester Bennington and him look exactly alike.
Yes, and also the quote unquote grandfather who was there's like usually a triplex, like a side by side of three people.
Rockefeller
was supposedly, and they all look. You're right. They look exactly the same.
And is that templates?
Templates?
Is it somebody playing the same part?
Oh, interesting. Of like one base character throughout time. That's interesting.
What living person, like you guys were talking about, like the rationale behind Tom Hanks not being a fabricated. Oh no, Tom Hanks, and the same kind of logic as Tom Cruise. Like you have these real embarrassing kind of storylines about people.
Mhm.
Um, if you're a real person, you don't want people walking around saying that you're raping boys in showers,
Right.
right? Come on.
Right.
Exactly, and that's why I say that they're not bothered, are they? Because it's
Mm-mm.
not really them.
Right.
They're not bothered by it at all. It's just their character that's getting those accusations.
Yeah. That's how they can exist in the world, and it doesn't, and because it's not real, because none of it is real, they can have it all. Just like the polarity swing, exactly like we discussed. It was the greatest and the best, and everyone loves Tom Hanks. And on the other side was this evil, satanic pedo, whatever,
Well,
whatever.
well, think about it. If Charlie Sheen had been cast as that
Whoa.
weird kind of thing, people wouldn't have been. Oh, it's Charlie Sheen. He's supposed to be all kind of crazy.
Mhm.
But Tom Hanks is kind of like you're not your freaky uncle, like the uncle that's better than your father.
You're right. He's the one everyone wants to be around and everyone
It's
loves,
more
beloved. It's
shocking.
more
You
shocking. Loosh. It's a loosh trap to have these for these. That's why they make these characters everyone's favorite everyone's favorite everyman. Tom Hanks has been, through remember Forrest Gump and his whole ride with did Philadelphia and then Forrest Gump, and he was really like the face of every cause and the
You've
emotional
got
tenor.
mail. You've got
You've got
mail.
mail. Everyone exactly
If
introduced
everybody
Green Mile.
email, Green Mile.
if everybody would have followed Tom Hanks' trajectory of technical thing, not technical, but technology, like if they would have bought, say, technology stocks in 2000, right?
Oh,
If you,
right. Oh, yeah, with his movies and Castaway, if you had bought FedEx stock after Castaway. Oh, yeah.
but nobody at the time realized how much of a cultural impact these things would have.
Mm,
So Tom Hanks was the perfect kind of messenger to bring like the future to living rooms across America.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're calling them an actor. That's what we know them as, Tom Hanks, the actor.
Mhm.
So is Tom Hanks the actor acting as Tom Hanks?
Right.
And
Who's playing actor Tom Hanks? Who's the actor playing
yeah,
actor?
is Tom Hanks? I don't believe that Tom Hanks, the person we see, is a real person. I believe he's a character.
Yeah.
He's an actor being played by an actor. That's what we call him. And actors, Tom Hanks, the actor, and he can, let's say, he can do whatever he wants
Mhm.
because it's not
Agree.
really him, and he can be called a pedo. He doesn't care.
I
So
agree.
it would just make more sense to me that he's not real, because as Murph said before, you wouldn't want that, because if he's real, he knows about all these rumors online and stuff, and
Mm.
he knows everybody's calling him a pedo, but he's not even addressed it once.
Mhm. Right. He doesn't have to. That's the beauty of it. Because no one will ever bring it up. No one in the mainstream, like no one in this quote unquote real world, the world that we are presented through our screens, nobody in that world. I mean, it doesn't really exist. It's all fake. He's not a pedo.
That Simone situation again.
Oh yeah.
That actor is just Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks we're seeing is just the digital creation, and they have an actor to play the Tom Hanks
Yeah.
for public appearances, bringing him into our lives. And so he's real. People have met him. They know him. People claim to have known him. If I say it's fake, people say, "Oh, I've met him," but
That's a great point. That's a great point. We do hear that a lot. We hear that a lot. People say, "Oh, I've seen him. I saw him at a coffee shop when I was in LA. How can he be fake?" Or I saw him at a premiere. Um, and how do we solve for that? And I think you're
every
right.
appearance is planned.
Yes, every
That's what I
appearance,
believe.
every appearance is planned and scripted, and there's a stand-in essentially. What do you think, Murph?
Oh, Tom Hanks, I'd say. I mean, anybody. It's kind of like a litmus test of somehow how weird somebody is. I mean, if you can't think that this person is an organic person, I mean, yeah, I could even think of like Bill Gates. Like, does can Bill Gates go over to his friends? Like, do Bill Gates have friends? Like
Mhm.
real, like you know what I mean? Like, can you put people in a real life circumstance? I mean, if you look at, I remember looking at the Instagram for the Tom Hanks Instagram, And it's just like these weird ass photos, the whole
Yes,
thing.
always just have a glove on the ground,
Yeah.
like that, and that fed into it. So much of it fed into our beliefs, into both sides. One side would be like, "Oh, Tom, he's just so kooky, posting his glove on the ground. He's so kooky." And then the other side is like, "Tom Hanks is a satanic pedophile, and he is posting pictures of the one glove from the kid that they took
Yeah.
underground." And it's like,
Cappy's told us, and
Cappy has told us everything. I was on his Periscope just a minute ago, and he told me everything, and it's like,
yeah, and you could go back to then Tom Hanks's page. It was like sending you back and forth like a riddle on it, like a murder mystery thing. With one Cappy died, and he was leaving like
uh-huh.
a crushed bottle cap with like a card
Uh-huh.
next to it.
On the road, on the same road, Cappy was like jumped off the bridge.
Yeah, on Route
Oh
66.
my God. Yeah. And when he was, Tom Hanks Tom Hanks was also, we can't forget, he was the first one to get COVID. He was he
Oh,
was
yeah.
he was patient zero, essentially, it was for the celebrities. And he was in Australia at the time, or New Zealand? Australia? I can't remember. He was over there. I think he was in Australia. But
So, yeah.
he was under some, and all the pictures, all the photos from of him and his wife, they all had some weird anomaly in them, and everyone was trying to deconstruct because it appeared he was in some sort of jail cell, and it was just being like
Under house arrest, like
under
everybody.
house arrest. And
And they knew
oh,
that. You could see that Rita kind of knew that was the story behind it, and he was purposely making it look like he wasn't with her.
yeah, they were like, "I'm scared." It was like, oh my gosh, there were so many layers, so many things being communicated in these photos, and they really wanted the people that were never going to see it to just be like, "Oh, get well soon." I hope you guys travel safely back. That's one side of the world. And then the other side of the world, we're just picking these images apart. We're looking at all these little, looking at the reflections in the glass, and
The Corona typewriter.
yes, the
Yeah, the
typewriter. Oh, that was a big part of it. And
And Madonna had the Corona typewriter, and it was like sending us to each celebrity. So what about something else I've seen while we're on characters?
Mhm.
The royal family thing,
Oh yeah.
and that's Hollywood again. Meghan Markle coming from Hollywood. What are the chances?
hmm in the recent Oprah interview, everyone's talking about Oprah possibly having an ankle monitor. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see the speculation about that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's made to look like she does in a few frames for sure. I definitely think that it's made to look like Oprah has an ankle monitor, but I I
It's
have a
not really.
feeling that the entire interview that we saw, this headline grabbing interview between Meghan Markle and Oprah, I have a feeling that the whole thing was CGI. The whole thing, Oprah, Meghan, Harry, everything, that every element was, there could have been body doubles, actors sitting in places and then feeding an identity on top of them, voices and the facial overlay and the whole thing, the whole identity overlay.
And previously, with an interview with Barack Obama, they actually shown us they don't even have to be in the same room.
Oh, that's right, and they just put them together, and
Yeah, and that could have been a distraction to make us believe that, yeah, they're doing it with green screen and stuff, but yeah, the people are still taking part in the interview.
yeah, part of it is green screen, but no, it still doesn't mean there's anybody there. It doesn't mean there's actually people there. Yeah, I think that goes back to something that we explored a long time ago, Rambo. That reminded me of these stand-ins, and you brought up the royalty and
A day in the life
of the
of the
Queen,
Queen.
the day in the life of the Queen. Okay, so this is fun because this was one of the back when you first started reaching out to me. It was like middle of the year 2020. It was, I think, in June that we started chatting like that. We would like send stuff to each other and be like, "Is this real? Is this real?" And we had a fun little like back and forth. And one of the things that I think you had stumbled upon it, and it was this video about the stand-in for the Queen.
Yeah, so it was about this lady who she goes out and does a rehearsal before the Queen goes in a public appearance. So she goes as a body double, but she says herself, "Oh, I wave to the crowd," and she basically feels like the Queen. And it's you who said maybe the rehearsal is the reality. So she's playing this body double of the Queen, where she thinks she's going on like a trial run of the Queen, but really they're overlaying the Queen's face onto that body double of that lady, and that is the Queen's appearance that we're seeing on TV, and she doesn't even realize it herself.
And so her whole profession, her whole life is that she is the queen. Her whole life is dedicated to doing exactly what the queen does when what she believes right before the queen does it. So right before the queen does any appearance, any speech, any crowd walking, any public appearance of any kind, no matter how big, no matter how small, even if it's just going outside of the palace. They even have crowds there. It's a total rehearsal. And I got this really strong indication that they use the rehearsal to create the actual event. And there is no need for a queen at all, because they use everything this woman looks like the queen. She's the same stature, she's the same size, she wears the same clothes, she wears the same hats. She dresses up. All they do
Same movements,
same
everything.
movements. She has studied the life, and she's such a sweet little lady, and she thinks she's doing her duty to the crown.
That could link back to the colour of purple, though, then, because they say the colour of purple is royalty, but they also say it's magic.
Yeah, magic and illusion.
That right there is on-screen magic. So it's the purple, the colour of illusion. So it's an illusion. That's why they say it's the colour of royalty, because royalty is an illusion.
Yeah.
The whole family is an illusion as a cover for the illusionist behind it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're just a front man. They're just I buy into that. I buy into the entire crown, the entire monarchy.
And from the royalty, that's how they can have the whole world. The whole world loves the royal family.
Oh, they love the royal family. It's a form of entertainment. Absolutely.
People line the streets for them on the weddings and stuff like that. And really, it's illusion of why people are doing that. It's a mind control. It's a programming to love the royal family and line on the streets if one of them dies or one of them gets married. It's all a programming. Like, people don't even know why they love them so much.
Yeah, they sell all like the teacups and the plates, and to have the royal family. Every time there's a wedding, there's just billions of dollars in memorabilia.
People who are there are not getting up close and personal to them at all. They can just see a figure in the distance, so that they don't know that it's not actually them, or it's somebody in a mask for that public appearance, or it's the old lady body double sat in the carriages, and people don't know that.
There's no way they could know. There's no way they could really see that closely. Yeah.
I think that's the allure of the Meghan Markle narrative. Is this American upstart kind of trying to get more attention than the Queen herself? And I don't see how anybody could watch not only the news but the video and not have extreme amount of disdain for her. I mean, I don't see how people could identify her. She seems like a very manipulative, race baiting. The whole thing is just, I felt really sickened by, listening to the interview. It just seems so put on, and race baiting and cognitive dissonance of seeing a woman, a girl, whatever you want to call her, looking white and claiming that she's just experiencing racism, and the whole thing is kind of so wacky.
Yeah, and then you have people like Piers Morgan resigning from his job for it, and that all ties in.
What did he say?
I don't even know what he said, but he had to resign.
What he was framing as being minimizing?
Yeah, he's saying it's not racist or something like that, and then they're saying, well, he's a racist, and he got 40,000 complaints, so he resigned from his job because he can't have free speech. But him doing all that, because that's been major headlines as well, like alongside the royal family thing, so it kind of makes it all real, and it's building a big form of entertainment from all over, wherever you look.
Look, there's an interesting cognitive dissonance is that we're supposed to think that here's this girl, this woman, and race baiting, and then you have someone like Piers Morgan come out and actually say what everyone's really thinking and what we're supposed to think, and he of course loses his job. But people have a weird kind of thing like, wait a second, everyone thinks this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and it begs the question, why? Why are they telling us? They really want us to think It's not okay to speak our mind. They want us to think that we will be fired if we speak our mind. We will lose our livelihood if we speak the truth that we objectively see for ourselves and what we can kind of look around and agree with others that we all see.
It's interesting that story, the Meghan Markle story, is going on at the same time that we're hearing that George Floyd's family received $27 million.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's all everything that's on in the media seem to all be connected somehow.
Mhm. Racial, we are definitely in a racial turmoil. I feel like that's our country's original sin, and that's how that is what we our entire narrative of our country, that we are built on the back of this extreme, of slavery and of this extreme racial tension. I think that anytime that they can go back to that and frame stories around that, they know they will pull us in. And it's lushy. Lush is essentially, it's our energy. If something is lushy, it is intended to swirl our energy within us, and then that goes somewhere. That exits our body. The energy that's stirred up inside of it, kicked up like dust, and like a dust storm inside of our body, it actually gets expelled through us, and the energy field, the toroidal energy field that surrounds us all at all times.
And I've seen this question, and so Lucy's negative energy, and I've seen this question pop up. So what would we say the opposite is, or does it all come under Lucy?
When I usually frame Lush, I talk about it in the sense of the negative, in the feelings of despair, just angst, anger, disgust, sorrow. These highly traumatic, highly negative. We all feel the pull of these negative energies. We can feel an energetic pull. And they do something to us. When we have a low energy, we can literally feel it pulling us downward. We feel down. We feel down in the dumps. And that's loosh. That's the swirling energy within us is loosh. And on the other end of the spectrum is the positive feelings, the feelings of extreme excitement, exaltation, of joy, of hope. And those are beautiful, but they can also be almost like a manic episode for the soul. They can also be so high and so hijackable that if we get sucked into this like period of hope, and then whatever we were hopeful for doesn't turn out the way we were hoping it to turn out, that in itself is like getting hit by a wrecking ball. So all of that hope that has been built and garnered within yourself can lead you to be primed for a really deep tumble. And all that to say, I think that our ultimate state is in the middle. It's in a state of bliss. I think that is where our ultimate state can and should be as humans, as these, we are energy beings, energetic, oscillating, vibrating beings, light beings. And I think that if we are able to like find a state of stillness emotionally, energetically, that's where we're supposed to be, I believe. And all these stories that we're talking about, good, bad, the other, all of this stuff is just meant to get us on one side of one extreme polarity, whether it's bad, or the other extreme polarity, whether it's good feelings. Nobody's trying to have us just be like calm in the middle, and nobody's really trying to lead us there. But I think that's where we need to settle eventually.
Yeah, and it's same with the race, with the royal family thing and the Meghan thing. With the racism, some people that's a good thing. Some people like really sorry for her, and
Yeah, sorrow. That's why they use Meghan Markle as a character, and that's why she was designed the way she is, because she's like this swirling division. She's both. Some people love her, and some people absolutely hate her. Nobody's indifferent to her.
and they got
Unless they're
together when
checked out.
Harry was 33.
And he was 33 and she was 36.
36, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, she's an interesting character. She's also a template in a sense that she models of the royal family. They've also had in the past. I believe her name was Wallace Simpson, but there was another American divorcee Meghan Markle is an American divorcee who was older, an older woman in the mid 30s. And generations ago, maybe in the early 1920s, I believe, is when Wallis Simpson was marrying into the British royal family. And it was this extraordinarily loosey story back then because she was, interfering with the crown, and she was disrupting the crown as an American divorcee, and she was basically like a black spot on the purity of the crown. And then Meghan Markle is basically this story over again, American divorcee
Yeah, and
coming
it's just
in.
repeating, and I can feel a Diana kind of storyline coming
Yes.
definitely for it.
The most Lucy story of all,
Yeah,
Diana.
right.
Diana.
Diana. Yeah,
I mean, Scott, talk about scripted.
There's an interesting theory that somebody brought up. They said an account that I like a lot, Mascatron Prime, and he came out and he said that the reason why basically there never was a Diana, and I thought
Oh,
about it,
wow.
and explains a lot of the whole Camilla story,
Mhm.
and that maybe Charles was with Camilla the whole time, and there never really was a Diana, which would mean that there's really not a Harry,
Mhm.
and Harry has a weird situation how he he physically resembles.
James Spencer.
Yes.
Yes.
The
He was a
other
polo player. He was a polo,
ginger
or no, he
polo.
was either a security guard or a polo player. I can't remember, but he was someone very close to
Well,
Diana with
it
red
can be
hair.
both.
Could have been both. Yes. But yes, he looks exactly like Harry, though, of this non-father of Harry, of not Charles, this character that was supposedly having an affair with Diana, looks exactly like Harry and has the red hair. James Spencer, I think, is his name. So the whole thing is very silly.
Of the brothers, you have a Cain and Abel type thing going on as well,
So true.
right?
Yeah.
Almost like you think that William is this this perfect person, like
Mhm.
publicly at least, he's never had a mishap once.
And then Harry is wearing his Nazi armband, Harry's always been up to no good.
but that makes him like relatable to us though,
It
as oh, he's
did,
just a
it did.
normal teenage lad or whatever, and all that we seen back then, I believe, is for the now. So it's like built his character up.
The interesting thing also is with Harry and Meghan,
Mm,
like the quote unquote like woke people,
mm.
like are politically correct and the modernity and liberalism, all these kinds of things. They love Harry and Meghan.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Like, and the same people who love BLM, like the white people who are all into BLM more than the black people are. They're the same people who love the Meghan Markle story. They're the same people who love to see racism everywhere.
Mhm,
Like almost like the new liberals, like the fascist liberals
mm.
who want more government, who want to see
Right. Oh, exactly. Yeah, who are very welcoming of every government measure in the name of safety, and I'm kind of like
Victim mentality.
victim mentality. Yeah, even right now with what you're experiencing right now, Rainbow, I was thinking about the COVID measures here with everyone exalting themselves to saint status because they've gotten their second vaccine or whatever, but over where you are right now in the UK, you're experiencing with Sarah's law it has been expediently brought onto the forefront. Like she just went missing a couple of days ago, and now there's already laws about it.
No, there's not a law. That's what I'm going to say is going to come from it. It's going to be a law because of how it's being pushed. And I even had a friend message me and say, "I'm not about this fake stuff, but there's something not right with this story. It seems fake." And it's right. It's everywhere. And the fact that you guys know about it, they want us all to know about it, and they want. So I just feel we've got something in plan to bring in because of this law for security, tighter security measures. And that goes back to, again, the illusion. So we're being shown this woman's died and stuff, but she's not really died, but the implications of that illusion will then be real in real life because people are actually scared. Women will be scared of men walking in the dark or whatever,
Right.
So this law, whatever law they may put in, will be taken seriously.
But yeah, the prime mover in a lot of these stories may be fake. Like the person who the murder story is about doesn't exist, but the aftermath and the ripples are definitely real.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big problem. The big problem is that people get so focused on the ripples and don't kind of reveal or focus on whether or not the person they're talking about is even real or not.
Mm.
And if you did that, maybe we wouldn't. I don't really know much about the Sarah story because as soon as I saw her age and the three facts of the March 3rd, her age, and the time at which the story came out, I didn't bother to even look into all the stories about it. All I know is a story of a woman who died at the hands of a man. Other than that, I don't know anything about it because I didn't bother to. Why would I? Why would I dirty my mind
Exactly, yeah.
with things that I know aren't even real?
And it happened at 21:30, didn't it? Number 33.
Yeah,
That's when she was last seen.
the story isn't about a woman so much. The story is about how bad men are.
Yeah. And it's about the majority believing it. And it's also that it's made so sensitive that if we were to say that was fake in public to somebody, they'd think you're crazy, wouldn't they? It's been made so sensitive that you're sick. If you say it's fake, you're a sick man. So,
Yeah.
and that's how it's been made to be. That you can't question it, and the more people believe it, the easier it is to bring in whatever law it may be or whatever security measure it may be, because everybody believes a story which was never real to begin with.
Goes back to the idea of every, false event, traumatic event that we've ever experienced. We always see some sort of legalistic fallout, some sort of restrictions on our personal freedoms. Going back to the question of, is freedom an illusion? Yeah, freedom is an illusion, because after 9/11, we're still taking our shoes off. We're still taking our shoes off at the airport to look for shoe bombs in our shoes, which never happened. That was never a risk. None of these measures were ever like it's. So to both of your
Like
points,
bombs at concerts and stuff like all to tight security, and everyone believes it. And every time, for me, every time it's like protected by how sensitive the story is to say it didn't actually happen.
right? Because you can't question it without being without being labeled.
To the average person in the street, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy if you say these events didn't actually happen. Just think you're mad.
Whew. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground. You guys want to take a quick break? And then maybe come back with another question, kick that around, and then wrap things up.
I've been having to think about how we were saying like we're mentally like imprisoned, and it goes to like this is just the theory, like the globe Earth. So they give you the globe Earth, so like it's like a contained shape. And then the other side to that is the flat Earth, which also has a dome. So it's a contained shape again. Over us, so mental that dome isn't really there. It's only there mentally. And they tell us about infinite space. And what about if infinite space is here on Earth and we're contained mentally in that dome? Do you know? That's another thought.
I think you're right on. Yeah, that is another thought. But the thing is, I think you're right on. I think that everything that we know about our experience in this realm is really limited to our projection of how far our individual consciousness can reach, and then that can be affected by like a shared consciousness. But I think that this all kind of works like a video game. I think that we have a certain reach around us, and things don't happen outside of that.
Yeah, because it touched on this. We can only travel really where they allow us to travel on the transport provided for
Within
us.
this plane. Within this plane, right?
Yeah. So when I think about it, both them shapes are like contained shapes, but it's a mental thing. You contain mentally from thinking outside of the infinite space that's here on Earth. That there could be more than just what we are.
And they tell us we're on a planet. But what is a plane? But a plane is, we have our planes of consciousness. We have our planes of vision, of understanding, and we understand a plane to be this almost like a chessboard around us, and we can kind of like see in a very specific, limited space from the center where we stand, and we can see around us in renders as far as the horizon, just like a video game with how far, if you're standing in a single person or a player game, you can see so far, and then the world expands around you as you go. And I like to say that we render as we go. We render this experience as we go, and we bring into every experience, we experience every situation with the energy that we bring into it. And that's kind of how we experience the world, and as we go, and we can kind of make it in real time, and experience our lives in real time, and influence our lives in real time. Going back to like the magic and illusion, are we the magicians here? Are we the magicians in this? If we don't really know the shape, if I think the shape argument, like you said, is a distraction. I think they're trying to like make us be fighting over ball, fighting over flat, when what we're really experiencing is we're magical creatures in a magical realm. It doesn't really matter what the shape is. I think that we really should be banding together and figuring out, how do we bust out of this joint? Well, how do we take over? We are the most powerful things within this realm. I think our energy, our human energy, is the most powerful thing in the realm. How do we take that power back?
You need to first off see the illusion, don't you? Really, and see that you are living in some sort of video game, really, and you can step out and you can then see it, but then you're kind of crazy to people for being able to see it, And when you realize that, then you kind of can grow from that, and you just don't take life as seriously. I don't, to be honest, since discovering that side of things. And I could be wrong. But I feel like I've seen enough to believe that I've come to my own belief of it, that's what it is. That there is a kind of something running, like you say, it could be a computer running the whole thing on us. Run giving us everything, and from the algorithms, even TV could be that. From what we're watching, we don't.
It seems that way. It seems that it's scripted, and when the idea of scripted is not just the concept of words on a page that actors read for dialogue, like a script, but script also is an automatically executing line of computer code. That's a script. And so if you think about the colors and the numbers and how they always seem to insert themselves into these stories, and how these stories always seem to be created from stemming from all these patterns and numbers and colors, and it's just like it's all woven together in these names, and it seems to be scripted in that sense, almost like an AI, almost like it's being all spit out quite obviously by a computer script. This actually goes to the second question. Speaking back to the questions, I think this is the perfect time to ask this one. If we are living in a simulation, could we all be experiencing a different reality with inevitable conflicts because each simulation contradicts another?
I think that's the prime reason for the conflicts in our daily lives, is people having separate realities, but yet walking through life as if there's one, na- like some people get into the natural law stuff, and we talked about this with the objective truths, whether or not there can be objective truths, and it goes back to the everything is fake kind of argument of yeah, well, that if someone cuts off their finger, they're going to feel pain, blood's going to come out of their finger. That's something that's a given. But the way that people perceive different things, one person can think that Christ is the savior, and another person can think Muhammad is the prophet, and Christ was a prophet, and not a savior, not directly from God or being part of God. And because those two people think that their reality is the reality, I mean, that's kind of that's more of a religious way to look at it. But even interpersonal things of relationships, people get obsessed with somebody else who doesn't even realize that they're alive. And literally can spend years thinking about somebody that doesn't give them a time of day and thought. You're talking about two people with completely different realities. I mean, unrequited love proves different realities, doesn't it? To an extent. I mean,
Yeah.
The love and the pain that somebody experiences is real to them, but to somebody else, it's a joke.
Coronavirus shows different realities, doesn't it? It's there's like loads don't believe in it and loads do, and it's a completely different reality. From each other, we're living completely different, and it's separating us more and more.
The same with the vax.
Yes, anti-vax, not vax, and then you've got the people who are just anti-pro-choice. Like it's just making different groups everywhere.
More division.
And really, it's just for nothing, an illusion.
Yeah, it's all over nothing. I experience that in my day-to-day life. I experience people that very close to me that are so excited about the vaccine schedule and talk about it every day and talk about, the qualification and getting in their line and scheduling and going back to the next one and are still very concerned about wearing masks and everything's masked up, even though the city that I'm in is no longer requiring masks. Everywhere I seem to go is like still very much forcing, masks. It's there. We're living in multiple realities. I still have to deal every single day with this very real fake virus.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's the same here. People like, oh, I've had my first, I'm going for my second. But are they having it because I just don't understand? Are they having it because they feel there is a killer virus out there, or are they having it because they think it's going to bring back what they know as normal?
That's the question. Through Corona, I think they're trying to introduce a narrative about our immunity that is false. I think they're trying to make us think that we are prone to be under attack. When in reality, a healthy and robust human immune system is like a black box. It's an impenetrable black. It's not going to be taken under by a coronavirus.
Do you think it's possible though, as well? This is just another thought that they could be doing this to lower our immune system by keeping us away from other people and keeping us in our houses. The weakening us that way.
Yes, that will make us sick. Yes, and I have felt this in my bones from the beginning that this is not a disease that is spreading through our bodies from an assault contagion. This is a disease that is spreading through our bodies from our minds, from
Nice.
from fear, anxiety.
They're using their only weapon really and it proving to themselves that it works. Like toilet roll, it's like a build up. First they tell us about the virus, then it's like get your stocks up on all your stuff, and then they kind of put toilet roll in the headline.
But it's like,
Everyone's
why
buying
was it even toilet roll? Because it's not a gastro thing.
Because because the virus is a load of shit.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. It didn't make sense. It was just they picked something. They picked toilet paper. Could have been anything. Could have been dish soap. Who cares? It could have been anything. But yeah, they chose toilet paper because it was a load of shit, and they were trying to scare us shitless. And it's quite the narratives are so silly, and how they can sweep everyone into this frenzy.
It's all through a fake virus, but what's happening in real life through this fake virus being pushed on TV is real. The lockdown here is real. That is real. That's real. And it's more because people are scared of fines and stuff. So there's a lot of people that probably would open, but due to fines and stuff like they can't open.
Oh yeah, like restaurant owners and
Yeah, and small businesses are genuinely closing. I'm seeing them
Oh,
closing.
yeah.
So that is real. But if everyone had the mindset of it's fake, they wouldn't be able to do it.
If we could all collectively let this spell break, if we could
And
just
say it's
all
fake.
stop, if enough people band together and just say this is not real,
If we
it
could
will
see the virus
it
is
will
fake,
lift.
yeah, but then that's why they put on young people that you could possibly kill the old
Your
people.
granddad, yeah, you could possibly kill your grandma. That's why the nursing home stories have been. That's louche. This is textbook louche. They're trying to make us the most extreme. It's not just about our own health. It's about not killing our grandmother.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
they've got
God.
it covered, all areas covered
Yeah.
to make it believable, and you also can't risk, say, not wearing a mask if you go near your granddad and he's really old. It's playing in the back of your mind. Maybe I can give it him, But if everyone said, right, that virus is fake, then the illusion's broken, But it's just not happening.
Some people, I saw somebody today with the double mask actually, and
You should have told them, sir, you should be wearing 3 masks. I feel in danger.
yeah, it's weird. I don't even really pay attention to the people anymore because it's so it's so weird when you look at them. All you see the eyes. And you could feel the fear in the eyes. So
Yeah.
Yeah, if you step near anyone, you kind of step away. Like I was in a situation in a doorway the other day, and I didn't have a mask on, and a woman coming towards me did, and she looked at me and she went, "How are we going to do this?" As
great.
in, pass each other out the door. Like she's like
Wow.
genuinely that scared. And for all I know, she could have had a backseat. So you had a backseat, and you've got a mask on, and you're still scared to come within a couple of meters of people. It's just a full, for me, it's a mind game.
You know, we talked about this magical realm. I feel like when you're living in fear, you cannot experience the magic of this realm.
The vibrations your vibrations are low. Um, and I really think that kind of like the COVID thing, just like a lot of these things we talk about, like perception comes down to, is everybody has a different, everyone's on a different frequency, on different wavelengths.
Yeah.
But sometimes merely going to the playground can be like an ethical, moral, existential quagmire. I walked my daughter in, and she said, Daddy, I don't need this. And of course, I wasn't going to insist that she wear it. But then, as we walked over to the swing set, there were three young girls on the swings, and they said, "My mommy and daddy said I can't play with you if you're not wearing a mask."
Oh my gosh.
To a 3-year-old kid.
And kids will say anything their parents tell them to.
So, where do you think it's all going to end? How do you believe this is going to come to an end?
Wow. Corona or
Yeah,
all of it?
this whole situation, because
Mm.
to me it kind of feels like it's boiling over to where surely something's got to give soon, with people seeing it is all lies. That's where I'm at with it, and that's a positive outcome that I can see, is there could be good changes coming from it. As bad as it seems at the moment, we're having a negative, but there's got to be the positive.
It seems kind of dismal. I mean, I don't,
There's got to be a positive with that negative, like there is everything. There's always the two sides, and we haven't seen the other side just yet.
I'm so comfortable, like in this, kind of like this little world I've created for myself. That's probably why I spend so much time on Twitter, because the moment I go out of it, I kind of realize, or like I pay attention to the regular news. It's so, I don't know,
Yeah, just
sad.
this. Yeah, and it's just repetitive, isn't it? It's just repeating the same things. You're going to die, and it's going to the body count. It's just the same thing over and over. So we're bamming it into our subconscious, aren't we? That it's
It used to be like if I saw an article with the 33. Oh, retweet it, and oh, this is 33. Now you see so many of them, I don't even bother. It's like, oh, that's no big deal, you know.
and
Uh,
you just see 33 as it's fake because, like, or an illusional story,
I think it's
deception story. I do.
I see it as a fakery thing, and
Yeah,
I think that's why they maybe made Jesus 33, because that's a fake story. I think too.
yeah, same. Yeah.
You know,
Um,
I don't like to say that on Twitter, because I've had people unfollow me because they'll DM me and say, I like your ideas and stuff, but one question for you, what do you think about Jesus Christ? And if I say that that's an allegory, they'll unfollow me, and I never hear from them again.
yeah, I've had the same kind of things. Like it's made that you can't really question it, can you?
All right, I want to jump back in. I want to jump back in with Rambo. It kind of aligns with this question, another question that we were asked. And the question is, do you believe we will ever be able to win back control of our lives and end the constant deception? And if so, how?
It needs to be a mass awakening to the illusion, doesn't it? Really.
So the first step ultimately to taking back control is we have to awaken before you can even begin to have control of. I mean, I guess if you render as you go, which is what I always say, that's exactly what that is. That means like you really do have to be the architect of your own life. You have to take back full control of your own life. So if the question is, do you believe we will ever be able to win back control of our lives and end the constant deception? Well, I think we will end the constant deception when we take back control of our lives.
Yeah,
Mm,
by stepping out of the game, what they're putting on.
mhm,
You have to step out and check yourself, basically, that and reality and everything that you thought you knew,
mhm.
and accept it could have all been a lie, everything. And when you can accept that, then you can kind of come to peace with it. That now you kind of discovering yourself from that day on. Really, when you realise that everything you've ever known is a lie.
Yeah, that's a weird day.
Yeah, you take it back. That day is the day you take back some sort of control of your life
I think so too.
from that day.
I think so too. I think we're under a spell. I think we're under some sort of illusion where when we have a mass awakening, like you said, not, I mean, to borrow from Q, the great awakening, quote unquote, I think that that was the truth buried
Yeah, it can happen.
yeah, the
It's
great
there.
awakening.
It's a
Yeah. And I,
possibility.
and I think
It's a possibility.
the illusions will turn to dust. I think that they will disappear like dust. Um, the whole idea of apocalypse, it sounds really destructive. It sounds we've always the idea that we get conjured into our head when we think of apocalypse of some sort of fiery destruction. That's what I think anyway. But what apocalypse means is a swift and an immediate a lifting of the veil, a clearing of the deception, an immediate clarity is what apocalypse means. Doesn't mean anything bad. It means something quite beautiful and quite wonderful. And I think it's interesting that the word apocalypse has been misidentified in our brains. Like we just kind of point to a negative, fiery, dark understanding of what like just the word apocalypse sounds really scary. I see like headless horsemen and oh, I see fire and I see brimstone, all sorts of stuff. But in reality, it's what we are experiencing for ourselves.
But in a way, the way that we've seen it, and like say, like you say, like like the theater, right, and like the Q story with these actors and characters and everything, and like the loosh that can be produced from it in terms of how people believe in these things that aren't real and get emotionally involved in things that are real. On the flip side of that, once you get to a point where it becomes too real to the point where sounds like an Elon Musk kind of thing, but it becomes so kind of
So fake, it must be real.
so
No,
real that
no.
it becomes so obvious and it's so much of like a cartoon that you're involved in, and you kind of have
Oh, this
this
whole life. Yeah, this life does seem cartoonish at times. Yeah.
like the realization that it's all fake
Uh-huh.
is kind of like a catharsis. Like you're finally releasing that tension, and also goes back to masks, I guess. Well, and
Mhm.
the classic, symbol of theater is having the happy mask
Mhm.
and
Ah, mhm,
the laughing mask and the crying mask.
mhm,
So you have comedy and tragedy,
mhm.
and they can't, and one can't exist without the other. I mean, it almost creates a cognitive dissonance. We don't know whether or not you should laugh or cry about somebody. And if you can introduce those same feelings at the same time with something, that's a very powerful feeling to have. People don't know what to think or what to feel. But anyway, the whole thing with Greek tragedy would be, the I think it was Aristotle came up with the idea of catharsis, but the idea that they would have tell stories where the audience would get emotionally involved in it, and experience things like fear, sadness, murder, things like that, acted out on stage, to kind of have this release of tension that would actually strengthen the community because people would find an outlet for all of these kind of chaotic emotions that couldn't be rationally explained. So if you had that released in the theater, which is the real true purpose of theater, that wasn't just like a pastime or entertainment, but entertainment is serious business. Because if people can get those kind of things out in a way that's not real, then they're not going to have all these unresolved human emotions, in normal society. So I mean, you know what I mean?
That's so interesting because it makes it seem like no matter what, we would need to be released from these things. Like we would need to have this exorcism, be excised from the bad. Like we're so bloodthirsty as his human beings. Like we're so naturally inclined that we would need to even have catharsis. But if we were never fed these highly traumatic stories, these highly violent, if these extraordinarily looshy, murderous stories of violence and extreme emotional trauma, would we need to act them out in our day-to-day lives as a result, or would we be absolved? Would is the chicken the it's the chicken and the egg? For me, it's the chicken and the egg. Are they feeding us this constantly and saying we need it because we're humans and we need to be absolved of our dastardly ways, and so they have to show us all this trauma on stage, as the stage being this stage that we're all seeing today through our screens and through our mainstream media and everything's a stage. So
And
is this like
again, that with the screen though, like they didn't ever give it us for entertainment, did they? Really, it wasn't ever for entertainment purposes. It's more for like mind control purposes. Why we have a TV, like we think it's we think that's entertainment, but that's only because we're watching on the screen. It's like they're giving us, and it's always got an agenda to the entertainment. It's always something with the entertainment. It's something to influence your life somehow every time, whether it's the Kardashians, anything. Do you know what I mean? It's there to influence people's lives, no matter what, whether it's good or bad.
always?
Like, so murderers, like there might be a murderer who's copycatted the TV program.
Oh yeah,
Do
the
you know,
copycat
stuff like
murders.
that. So
Yeah.
maybe that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't through the screen to begin with.
That goes back to the entire idea of these serial killers not even being real, of
Yeah.
serial killers all being constructs that they invent, and then the copycats are real, but they would have never happened had it not been for this
They become
original.
idols,
They become
don't they, to
idolized,
these?
and people, yeah.
And I feel like that's like, again, why we have this, why everything comes from the screen, because we've been led to believe from day one it's the truth.
And what is a
And
screen? A fence, a barrier to light. Our screen is
concealment.
a
Yeah.
method of concealment. Our devices, our screens. We know if we put up a screen, you're screening light. You're screening your the ability to see. Between yourself and something else. And our screens are literally that. They are methods of concealment. They're methods of light, of concealing of light, of barriers of light, and they're projectors of false light. So they're not only are they barriers to truth, to true light, but they are projecting at the same time. They're projecting us quite literally false light through trillions of triodes of red, green, and blue little trilights all throughout the iPhone screen surface is just trillions of little red, greens,
And
and
it's
blues
only going to
pointing up at you.
get more the way things are going, because it's gone from being radio and then TV, and then now it's your phone, then it's apps like TikTok, where you've said in the past, where they're basically just copying dances. So you're just, again, copying what comes through the screen, just like doing what you're told.
And so much of TikTok looks CGI, right? So much
Yeah.
like I feel like Snapchat was a way to introduce these facial overlays to us in a broad way. And I feel TikTok is a way to introduce non-real entities and then have us copy them. And like we are copying machines. It's kind of messed up. But I think that a lot of what I see on TikTok, a lot of popular things, I don't even think are real. I think they're the reason that they can move in this perfected way is because they are digital puppets.
Those dance moves don't seem natural at all.
They don't seem natural, do they? And that goes to also the TikTok was when the corona nurse, the dancing nurses videos were
Yeah.
kind of coming
So
out on
they've been
TikTok.
part of the
And
corona
those didn't
thing.
look real either. And who has time to do videos about dances when you have a global pandemic on your hands?
It's always the same song, supposedly.
I just those did not ring true to me. Those did not ring true to me. They looked digital. They looked unreal. Yeah.
And a lot of things I've noticed now is
news is even coming from TikTok. You know, like certain
Oh,
videos like
yeah. Yeah.
of like explosions or whatever, they're
Yeah.
coming from TikTok. Like there was one in the UK not
Yeah.
a few weeks ago in Exeter, and there was like an explosion, and all these random videos popping up with TikTok in the corners, you know, of the explosion where people, and it was like this World War II bomb that was being controlled, exploded, but it went wrong, and I done a post on it, and I asked how did people know that it was going to go off, if it was going to be controlled? If people in the area knew, you wouldn't expect a big explosion, so you wouldn't be recording from multiple angles for
Right.
it, really, would you?
They always are. There's always a phone that's capturing it right at the very moment, right before the blast. It's just casually capturing, just perfectly centered in frame, never like even off to the side. It's always usually right in the center of the frame. How does that happen? You know? Well, it doesn't.
It's like the George Floyd video,
Oh yeah. And they kept
right?
right, because the George Floyd video had that perfect view, and then when you saw and I don't think any of this is real, but when you saw the other side of the street view, which I don't think that was real either, but the other side of the street showed something different. It basically showed
Nobody there.
right, it showed nobody there, and so maybe that one was real. But basically what we're being shown is that there is a disconnect no matter what, like, and both of them could be false, but neither of them could be real, so, like, they kind of cancel each other out on reality.
So it's like a mixture of acting. I think that day with George Floyd was a
Oh, yeah.
mixture of acting and CGI mixed in. I feel like it was a bit of both, and I feel like they've done it poorly on purpose, really. But do you think it's always been this sloppy like this,
Yes.
where
Yes, I do.
or
I
are
do.
they getting sloppy,
No.
or can we now just see that it is?
Honestly, I think it has always been this sloppy, but you cannot see it when you're blind. You just can't. But when I go back and look at Columbine, and I remember being in my parents' bedroom, like watching the Today Show, and I was in middle school or something, maybe elementary school, middle school. But I remember watching on the Today Show the footage as Columbine was kind of like unfolding, and I remember feeling mesmerized. I couldn't look away. I couldn't think about anything else for the rest of the day. I just saw, and then the trench coat mafia, the whole idea of that was just seared into my consciousness for a while. Like, and I think, but now when I look back at it, all I see is purple.
Same with everything, with the Vegas shooting, everything's just purple when you look back. And was that purple always there?
I think so.
I do, yeah. I do too.
The pink elephant in the room is the purples. It's always been there. It's always been larger than it takes up the entire screen quite literally, but we just cannot see it. When I look back at 9/11 footage, it's all purple.
Everyone has a purple shirt on running out the building.
Mhm.
Like
Every bystander.
I've gone back on everything I could think of, and it's all purple.
It's all purple.
Everything.
And you're not aware until you're aware. It's
No,
plain
that's
as
what
day.
I always think was. And then when you see things from that, you see things that look obviously fake and staged, like the George Floyd thing. And then they ask myself,
Yeah.
like, was it always like that? Was it always that bad?
I
And
think
it turns out it was, you know.
I think even the JFK assassination is that bad.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
We just haven't been able to see it for his head being like an exploding pumpkin and not a real human being. It's not a real. It wasn't a real. It was never real. He never got assassinated. There was never a real human being shot in that vehicle that day in that stretch of Dallas proper. It didn't happen. It just did not happen the way that we think that it
Well,
happened.
here's this question, because I I think about the JFK thing every once in a while,
Yeah.
and I know that you question whether or not there actually was a JFK,
Hmm.
right? So I was thinking, you know how they do this. Then I've seen videos of that Jimmy Carter is really JFK,
Oh wow, interesting. Well, yeah. Jimmy Carter
but
does
how
look like he's wearing a mask. Yeah.
but how about there was never a JFK and it was Jimmy Carter all along?
or neither of them exist and the base character is playing both.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to be one of those people though.
Mhm.
When I was in Nicaragua, Jimmy Carter was in the same hotel as me.
Did you see him?
I did see him.
You did? What
Yep.
did he look like? Did he look like he was wearing a mask? He has kind of a
Oh,
caricature. He looks like a caricature, right? With his
this
big
was
old
a few
teeth.
years, a few years ago, so I wasn't looking at things
Oh.
now
Oh,
at all.
true. Totally, yeah.
But there was Jimmy Carter there. I mean, that's all.
So here's a question, because this kind of goes to this reality that we're in, this simulation theory. Did you see him, or did you just see security guards and see someone who was ushered out, but like you didn't actually like see
Yeah,
his
you're right.
eyes?
I didn't have any interaction with him per se. I think it was more of the hoopla.
The hoopla. No, 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 totally. And I've been in situations where it's like, oh, the queen is here. Or not for me, not the queen. Actually, for me, okay. So I was in England in October of 2018, and this is when the day that Meghan Markle had lunch with the queen, the day she met the queen and had lunch with her, like a famous day. I was with my mom, and I won a trip on the radio, which is really strange. I'm just a very lucky person, and I won a trip to London on the radio. Long story short, just manifest your own destiny. It can happen. But as we were walking by, it was just after lunchtime. This whole cavalcade, like the whole street, kind of shut down, and this middle turnstile of like statues turned, and this thing that was a monument became a thoroughfare, and these Range Rovers just came racing in front of us. And I said to my mom, I was like, "Oh my gosh, mom, that must be Meghan and Harry. They just had lunch with the Queen." This is obviously before now. I would have laughed at all this, but now I look back at it and I think all that scene requires was a couple of vehicles. That's it. It doesn't require any human beings, doesn't require really anything. It just requires some traffic disturbance, and everyone in the perimeter and everyone concerned will believe that like important people are rushing to and fro. And I realized after the fact, now looking back, like how much of the whole, even the experience of like touring the castles and touring these places, all the whole royal experience, it's all entertainment. It's a business of theater and entertainment for tourists, for people like at the time, me and my mother, we were just like ogling at the crown jewels and like, oh, ooh. And now when I look back, all of it was purple too. Like every crown was purple, everything, and as we're exploring, purple means illusion, and purple, purple is royalty, because
And it's royalty.
royalty is
That's
illusion, and the whole thing, it
yeah.
just, yeah, it goes around.
Royal family doesn't exist.
Or the idea that also, I think one of the part of the reasons why purple is kind of is connected with royalty is in the past. I think people who understood magic, right?
Mm.
They were the people who controlled society, people who could control perception. So and that was more of the, I hate to use the word, uh, more of the milieu, if you will, of the upper class,
Mhm.
not of the middle class or the lower class.
Mhm.
So you have a
Energy
class.
manipulation, yeah, manipulation of energy. It wasn't just class warfare, it was knowledge, energy warfare. Like if you were in the upper echelon, you could manipulate the way that everyone below you thought. And if you can control the way they think, then you've got them. If you can.
Yeah, and I feel like they are who are behind the royal family, as in like putting the royal family out as an illusion of.
And this is the kind of stuff that leads to endless kind of speculation as to whether or not the Illuminati are running things, or who understands magic and who's doing all these things. Even today, somebody, we're talking about the depopulation stuff, and I was going kind of hard in the paint on things, just
You
when
always
people,
do. You always go hard in the paint, Mark.
well, especially when people kind of come out with the whole everything is fake stuff.
Mhm,
I kind of feel like I have to.
mhm,
Um, and somebody was talking about, oh no, it's real, and then they said, I've seen the Georgia Guidestones,
mm.
right? And I looked up the Georgia Guidestones, and it was opened on March 22nd, 1980. Yeah, 66 right there.
Mhm.
I mean,
It's so fake. The Georgia Guidestones, once you wake up, they seem they just point to a higher power. And it reminds me of this quote. I'm just pulling up this book. It's called Word Magic, the powers and occult definitions of words. And it states many times, it says the main source of power for the government is the energy of the people, because the government is a creature of our minds and is manifested through the power of our collective thoughts. We literally make the government through our belief. We
I
create
think
the
that's where
government.
the I think that's where the loosh goes.
Mm.
A lot of people, some people have the idea or the construct or
Gets
whatever
carried
construct.
away. The loosh gets carried away through the belief in the system.
The loose is the energy that goes towards creating the matrix and sustaining the matrix.
Yes. Okay.
And
Yes.
consciousness is, if anything's contagious, that I think we should have learned or could learn from this coronavirus stuff.
Mhm.
And you had a thread early on about the corona kind of being something to do with the mind, and then I think I did a tweet about the only virus we have right now is a potential mind virus,
Mhm.
and the corona is the crown and the mind, and the government may think mind control, um, but I don't know.
It all connects. It all connects. It all relates to control, to power, to
But
order.
and consciousness is contagious.
Awareness, I believe, is contagious. Yes. Awakening. I've said it from the beginning. I believe that the coronavirus, and the corona means ring of light. It means crown of our heads. It means head, mind. The coronavirus is not a disease of the body and not a contagion of disease, but a contagion of awakening and awareness, and a spreading of awareness through. I think awareness spreads faster and than any virus. So does fear, unfortunately. Fear spreads through a population just as fast.
And awareness, you get the flip side of it of
A
false
false
awareness.
awareness. Yeah.
Like, I remember back in August or July, yeah, maybe August or whatever, and I was kind of like when I kind of first got into Twitter, and we had like a little group of people, and there was one person with like an established account,
Mhm.
and I think I had maybe like 600 followers at the time, and they had thousands or whatever, and I kind of looked up to the person because I knew a lot about the Tartaria stuff, and then they started going into, you know, videos on the David Goldberg video.
Mhm.
That bullshit story about a reporter who came out and said that basically, the Zionists plot to take over the United States and they're going to put everyone in FEMA camps,
Mm.
and totally with that 2030 agenda stuff.
Mhm.
And, would literally post it to us and say, "Oh, everybody watch this, and then we'll get back to in an hour or so and discuss."
Mhm.
And I watched it in like 15, not even 15 minutes, like 5 minutes into the thing. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? I mean, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my
It's just
life.
a time suck. You lost you lost that time, yeah. Energy.
Yeah. But then everyone got back together and started like discussing it. And how are these people believing that this is real?
We've all been
Um,
there though. I
but,
Yeah, we've all been there.
but it was contagious because if I hadn't known any better, I would have taken it as gospel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that way, it is contagious. This bullshit stuff is very contagious.
Have you been able to spread your personal new awareness to anybody in your real life?
Yeah, I've had some people become a bit aware. When it's as soon as it started off, I was saying it's fake, and all that stuff, and people were like, no, no. And then I've had people come around on the coronavirus thing,
Mhm.
and sometimes when I see that, I kind of get a bit carried away with myself and start pointing out 33 everywhere. Look, that's fake, and then I have to step back a bit, and I kind of just leave
You
little
forget.
seeds, just
Yeah, you forget how.
just go off on one that, telling him what's
Yeah,
fake. But
right.
yeah, but like there's one friend in particular, and he's kind of woke up to coronavirus, and then he woke up to the 33s popping up everywhere,
Mm.
and then now he's like sending me pictures of the purple. So it's like I'm watching him. So I have,
Oh, that's
in
great.
that case, I feel like I have, and also even my dad. He follows the purples himself, and he believes it. And it's like he doesn't want to believe it. No, he doesn't want to believe it's all fake because it's a lot to give up to realize that everything you thought you could have seen on the news, that
is stored in your subconscious mind was all fake. You know,
Mhm.
it's quite a big thing to take, I'd say, for people. So some people won't want to go that far. I don't feel like at a certain age people would like, no, I'm not having that. You know,
It's unsettling. It's an unsettling feeling.
yeah,
It gets better. It
when it
gets better
happens,
quickly.
yeah,
Yeah, it feels we have a mourning period. I think we've all talked about this, and I know that Murph, once you talked about the day that you felt you had an awakening, you had like a you were walking around the city like what the hell's going on, you know? It's like almost like you're in a daze. You go through a period where everything seems so upside down, topsy-turvy. How do I reconcile anything in life? And then all of a sudden you come to just a point of peace where it's like, "Oh, okay, I'm above all this now. I'm actually outside of it now and we're all good." What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in the beginning, I had the kind of like a burning desire to reach out to people and kind of tell them what was going on or what I was seeing with the Q stuff, and then after the Q stuff with the with some of the Tartaria stuff,
Yeah.
and I was sending people the John Bonet thread. To be quite honest, I've given up on kind of trying to wake people up or trying to like I'm just myself, and like I'll say things and I don't really pay attention to the way people react to me.
That's the best lesson. That's honestly the best lesson is to live boldly and courageously in your own you.
I say like the way I look at it is I may have lost a few friends.
Mhm.
Like I mean, with one person even specifically, like they were offended. The person wrote to me and said, I'm halfway through your podcast, and I'm very offended that what you said about George Floyd. I'm very offended about 9/11. I'm not going to listen to any more of this.
Mhm.
And I think afterwards, I think I told him even more things were bullshit afterwards. But I kind of realized that the relationship was there was no relationship. Um, if somebody's not going to listen to me because of the George Floyd thing, it's kind of ridiculous. But I may have lost a few, but I think I gained 10 times more.
It's
Uh,
beautiful.
that's the way I look at it.
More meaningful, more meaningful. So that just goes to show in this fight, essentially what we're up against, we will lose friends that just aren't up for it. We're going to speak our unspeakable truths, and there will be certain people, once all the dust settles, there will be certain people in our lives that remain, and there will be certain people that fall away. And that is that's part of it. And that's beautiful in its own way. We were not always meant to carry every single relationship through our entire life. Some aren't meant to go on. And if they can't, like you said, if they can't listen to you and celebrate you for just a truth that you had, and to speak about the George Floyd thing, when I started tweeting about George Floyd, I I was, to share something very personal about my life, that people very close to me made me start seeing a therapist after I started tweeting about George Floyd not being real. The people that are closest to me and that, that loved me and wanted the best for me thought that I was batshit crazy and decided that the best thing for me was to make me see a therapist. And by God, by the end of those 6 therapy sessions, I just about flipped that therapist. He was on my side. He was like, "Yes, tell me more." But, no, I mean, kind of, but, it just it so it's radical. To think this way is troubling for the people that, that mean well. They love us, and they mean well, but it's very difficult to step into through the
under
it's
the
through the
veil.
looking right, yes.
Yeah,
It's past the veil. We're living, they talk about through the looking glass, project looking glass, Alice through the looking glass. It's more of like the veil being lifted, and they are looking through a very the veil is transmuting the light in such a way that everything looks different, and then once the veil is lifted, we see much more clearly. Yeah.
We were talking earlier about the false freedom as an illusion thing, right?
Yeah.
I think the illusion is that freedom is so easily taken away, right?
Oh, yeah. That's why the government uses all these illusionary tactics to make us seem like we're being oppressed, and it's
I think we do. I think we do have a huge amount of freedom, and that's why there's so much efforts to control to control our minds with these crazy stories.
yeah.
I think if we truly didn't have freedom and everything, it wouldn't be a 24 hour, 8 days a week of crazy stuff coming through.
Mm.
And freedom, I think people make it so complicated, but I mean, it's not such a huge process. And it's like, like I said before, somebody can be in prison and be more free than the person who's in a penthouse in Manhattan.
But it's a state of mind.
Yeah.
It's a state of mind.
It is a state of mind. And that goes back to the idea of freedom being an illusion, being more of a question of your surroundings, but a complete mental mindset question, like almost the to be, I think, therefore I think, therefore I am, I think my life is a certain way, no matter what the circumstances are. You could have a beautiful life, but be miserable.
How many stories do we hear of a guy who's maybe was been in prison for like 20 years, 30 years, gets out, and within a few months they're back in, and you have to wonder whether or not and the reason why they go back in is some stupid infraction, like they'll walk into a bank, not even trying to commit a crime, but with the intention of going back to prison,
They crave the comfort of prison. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. If it's all you've ever known, it's a routine. It's a beautiful routine. Routine can be quite comforting.
Or you can be happy anywhere.
You could be happy anywhere. Yeah, and to be taken care of as a ward of the state. Sure, why not? We don't know. You're right. We think that we're elite by going to our spa retreats, you know, but it's just another form of walls around you, surrounding you, keeping you contained in a space. Prison, it's really all a state of mind. It really all is. And I remember as a kid having a distinct understanding. I moved around a lot as a kid, and we were always in different houses, and I always remember thinking, like, no matter how the configuration is laid out, it's still like a mouse maze. It's still like a mouse trap. You look at like the floor plans and blueprints of a house, it's still almost as if like you were designing like a maze for a mouse to go through. And I remember having this understanding of like just the living experience of the human race, thinking of it as these we're just we are the mice. We are the mice in this experiment, and no matter how lavish or small our containers are, they're still just like this mouse house for us to play around in. I was a weird kid, so that was not quite an abnormal thought for me to have.
House.
I used to draw. I used to have these sketch pads that were on a spiral bound, and I would just draw different rooms in the house and like and they would always be like on this like 3D plane where you're looking at it from above, like almost like an architectural rendering. Yeah, I was a really weird kid, but I would like flip the pages and the mouse would like go into different. Anyway, and I had this like, this is too much information, but yeah, kind of explains why human vibration is human vibration. It's all about this mouse house, y'all. We're just all living in this mouse maze. It's interesting that mice are the experiment. When we think about science experiments, and it's the rat race, but they also call it the human race, and there might be something to that. And we're on the hamster wheel essentially with our day to day lives. And all right, someone else jump in before I before I bring us the tenor down too much. before I lose
Yeah.
us before I lose us out of the podcast. I mean, it's heavy stuff. What is real? What is not real? I think that that's something that we really are going to be tackling a lot with this show. Is what's not just what's real, but what's important and where should we if we can release ourselves from the energy of these highly charged news stories, if we're in historical stories and current event stories and whatever, pick your poison. If we can separate ourselves from these and we can take back that energy, what happens next? What happens next? What do we do with all that saved, stored human energy? And we are the battery cells. If we could keep it, if we could hold on to our energy better instead of giving it out to the aether through being excited through these, lushy stories and events and all these things. What does that mean? What does that mean for humanity if we can collectively harness or take back more of our energy?
We have more energy for our loved ones, for one.
True.
Um,
True human connection. That's real. Absolutely. Yep.
you were telling the story about that you were at a wedding, and instead of enjoying the wedding, you're looking at like the best art collection kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah, that was we I don't think we recorded that one, but yeah. But I was at a wedding in 2017, and it's kinda when I first fell down the original rabbit hole, and I was at a beautiful wedding, and I could not stop checking my phone to see what was next. I had just discovered the John Podesta portion of the QAnon, pedogate, whatever, and I was connecting it to, Ghislaine Maxwell and da da da, and it was just going real deep, and them being in relation to Madeline McCann. Long story short, I could not even enjoy an incredibly beautiful experience unfolding around me because I became mesmerized. Back to Rambo's point, like I got locked in, I got pulled in, I got mesmerized, and I was like checking under the table. There was so much happening that was positive energy, and I couldn't be a part of it because I was pulled out through being mesmerized by this cute thing. Had I been today, like I could have really enjoyed that whole experience much better, you know. Um, it's interesting, yeah. But for bringing it back to that, yeah, it's pulling. It'll pull you. It'll pull you away from the things that are meaningful. Like you said at the beginning, like you just said about if we don't have these distractions, Murph, you mentioned that we could have a closer relationship with the people that are around us and the people that we love. I totally agree, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. I think I think it all comes down to like people talk about the awakening and things like that, and like freedom or whatever.
Mhm.
I think people make it kind of overly complicated sometimes, and it's ultimately a personal thing. I don't think even the three of us together, we get together and we discuss it, but then we all go off our separate ways,
Mhm.
and you have a constant conversation with yourself.
Mm.
Um, it's ultimately a very personal place. All of these things, what's real, what matters. Someone today even asked me, like, okay, I think I did a post on the vax situation, and how the, the contradictory way that truthers deal with the truth.
Mm.
Truth that's convenient to their narrative is accepted, like the deaths from the vax and vax injuries is accepted without question, and then COVID deaths, of
Right.
course, are dismissed, but yet they're coming from the same place. So we're not really dealing with truthers per se. It's the furthest thing from the truth. And somebody wrote back and they were like, "Well, okay, I see your point, but where do we go from here? And like, what's the point of life? What's the point of this? What do I do with this newfound, looking at things this way?" And I replied back to the guy. I said, if I answer these questions explicitly, I'd be just another person telling you what you
Yeah,
should do.
it's
Yeah.
part of everyone's individual journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd just be another shill
Mm.
saying, "Oh, this is what to do," when I don't really know what to do myself. I mean,
Amazing.
that's why I love the whole like stupid that kind of fun stuff, like jamming out to Michael Jackson stuff.
Mm. I think I love your approach. I think that your approach is the best way to do it. I try to take a similar approach, although I do tell everyone exactly I'll tell you everything. You ask me a question, I'll tell you everything that I think. Sure. But I like the way you are definitely more of a Zen master of I think that your tactic is you're gonna put it out there, you're gonna tell and you're gonna keep repeating almost like we talked about last time. You're gonna hit your student over the head with your knowledge, but then you're going to leave it there and let them take it from there, whereas I'm like holding everyone's hand. I'm like, do you get the purples yet? Oh, magenta, it's in the center. Da, 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 da. Oh, the line of purples. Blah, 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 blah. And I have like this whole thing that I give everybody every response like I think that we all have to find a balance between how we like train when people come to us asking for questions. Yeah, we can't just railroad them. We have to we have to find a way to express our knowledge or what we understand as our knowledge, because honestly, what the fuck do we know? We are all figuring it out too. We're just sharing. It's the journey is inward for everyone, and what we do individually is we share our light. We shine it bright. We shine our individual lights very bright, and people find us through that. And I think that's the best thing we can do, and I think that's the only thing we can do. And I think that shining our true light into the matrix of false light is the most radical and revolutionary act that you can do in this. And they always say light travels faster than anything else. So there you go.
Doesn't travel at all. There's no distance.
Oh, well,
Boom.
then, well, you kind of deflated my motivational speech, but I appreciate your rationale and bringing me back, right sizing, right sizing my thought. But yeah, boom.
You know what I think? I think to a large extent is this. None of this stuff was happening before we started questioning the vaccine narrative. And if anything, I think truth or Twitter is completely compromised. I think truth or Twitter is crap, garbage,
Mhm.
uh, for the most part. It really should be called conspiracy theater, conspiracy theory Twitter. I
Conspiracy
mean,
theater is probably right.
you know, you know, it, mostly the 5G, chemtrails, Depop, vaccines are killing everybody.
Mhm.
I mean, mostly every single narrative is crap.
Very Lucy, very energetically Lucy.
And we're trying to find, and we're really trying to go after the truth. And I mean, if anything's the third rail, if someone says don't go there, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
That's
We're
where
at
we're
the
at.
place where no one wants to go.
We're going
The
beyond.
deepest depths of the hole,
And,
of the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
and what I think kind of throws people off is we do have some followers who do really feel it, who do really kind of understand what we're saying,
Yeah, I think so.
and they have almost like a religious experience.
I think so. I've seen
And
that.
it's not from us. I mean, I don't do what I'm doing because I want to have like all these people. I do it because it feels good to get it out.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
feels it
get it
couldn't
off
go
your
wrong.
chest because
Yep.
you can't do it in real life. You can't say what we're saying out in the street to anybody you know, really. Like some of the stuff of people not being real, events not being real, and people who haven't died, who people like public have mourned for and stuff like that. We're actually saying none of that was real. So
Right.
it's a big step to take to go from vaccines are killing us and nanobots are getting us and all this stuff.
Mhm.
It's a big step to say absolutely all alive.
That we're healthy and whole and complete and beautiful systems and we're magical beings in this magical realm and we can render as we go and we can create beautiful lives around us if we just stop believing and we just get off the wheel, the energy wheel. We could actually create we could have a lot of energy to create our own lives. If we are truly rendering as we go, and we need energy to render, then and we're giving away all of our energy to our 9 to 5, which are never 9 to 5, but our jobs and our day-to-day lives and our mortgage
And
and
like
our
horrible stories all
yeah.
and so
The horribles, the news, absolutely. And we're giving away all of our energy. Yeah.
I mean, I have 3 kids, and obviously, it's on like it's way past the thing of like going to a kibbutz or something like that. But we have thousands of people who have no place else to go
Right.
and no place else to talk about these things.
Right.
Um, I mean, this is almost like a digital commune.
Yeah. It's uncharted waters. Rambo, to your point about being open on the open sea, this is definitely uncharted waters. We are having discussions that have never been discussed before.
We're being accused of being agents,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
right?
That's all
And
right. I think it's a
at one
compliment. I honestly, I'm like, sure.
I'm not really bothered with it.
Mhm.
It just the only thing that bothers me about it is the thing that people would think that what we're saying is an artifice, that we don't believe what we're
Well,
saying.
okay. Devil's advocate. So we're saying anytime anything new and radical is introduced, like a technology, like a Facebook, anytime something totally new and radical is introduced, it must be because a higher order, like Zuckerberg's not real. So someone behind it is putting out this new radical thing called Facebook. And like, okay, so, we are putting out something radical. And we're all kind of nameless, faceless avatars on Twitter. Human Vibration, Rambo, Murph. We are. We're are we the Zuckerbergs of this movement somehow? I don't believe so. I believe that we are genuine rogue elements in the matrix, and we like our beacons found each other through space and time in this really radically weird year 2020. We all found each other. We all reached out to each other individually, and found each other, shared stories, and changed each other's lives in a significant way. And so we've done that individually to each other. Myself and Rambo, myself and Murph. I know that Murph and Rambo, like this little triumvirate, it goes all ways. And I think that the influence that we've had together as individuals and just us three together, I mean, we've really connected with a lot of people. We've seen some true experiences.
People want to do that retreat thing.
I think that would be cool. I think it really would be really, really cool if we had some sort of awakening retreat. I don't know how we'd I guess it wouldn't be that hard to pull off, but
I like that girl, that woman. What's her name?
my
I don't even know.
Maria,
Yeah, she seems like
she's
she got.
amazing. And her big idea is to have this type of knowledge retreat where people like us that are message bearers. That's what I consider myself, a message bearer. I don't think that I'm like coming. I think that I'm a conduit to a lot of cool information. I don't think that I'm necessarily genuinely architecting all of my own thoughts. I think that I'm just synthesizing a lot of thoughts that have always been out there and collecting things from the ether and putting them through. So getting all of these people like us, these aggregators that are sharing, and maybe having some sort of camp, summer camp, that'd be so cool.
Are we influencers? We're
I,
influencers, aren't we?
I know. Well, we're not Kardashians, but we might be influencers.
Speaking of Kardashians, have you seen the video recently with the Chloe one?
No, which one?
Her face is even more
Oh,
crazy.
well, I think that's part of her, just we talked about the Michael Jackson consistently changing his look. We talked, it's these characters, these larger than life characters, they always change their radically change their looks. I think maybe she's just a character. Who knows if there's really a Khloe Kardashian? I don't know. I mean, she's never looked the same in season to season, year to year, this girl, year over year, this individual, this Khloe Kardashian has never ever looked the same, and it's becoming almost cartoonish. But that's the same as the Kylie Kardashian, who was the youngest billionaire, I suppose, is what the
Oh
narrative
yeah.
was. But then it all came out once the receipts actually got taken to task. It showed that there was a shell company, and really, like they were like in debt up to their eyeballs, and there was a valuation of $1 billion with actually zero asset backed behind it, and it was all a shell game. So this whole
But the,
the
the
whole
whole Karda-
empire.
the whole Kardashian story based upon the deep fake porn video.
Wait,
I don't
what?
think I don't
Yeah.
think that I don't think that porn video is a real genuine porn video.
Oh,
No,
I
I
think
don't.
I think
oh boy.
they had a
Oh boy. You don't have to tell me twice, but sure. Actually, I now have to do some research. I
We didn't know about deepfakes in 2007, so we just took that porn, but that put her on the scene and pretty much the whole family, didn't it?
Oh yeah, that was the entree. Kim Kardashian's entree into other than her father being, her dad was the lawyer for one of the lawyers for O.J. Simpson. So that is, they were initially, the name Kardashian became etched into the consciousness of Americana in, I guess, the 1990, what was it, 6?
91,
91,
92.
92? Okay, yeah, 91 and 92. Yeah, the Bronco chase, the famous Bronco chase, exactly. And so that's when the name Kardashian became into the public limelight. But it wasn't until a few years later, or many years later, that Kim had that infamous sex tape, and that launched the empire, the Kardashian empire. Yeah, and it was, and honestly, I haven't seen it, but now I actually, just for pure research, I might have to see if my eye can spot the game. I have to see if I can spot the Unreal technology. I'll just see a couple screenshots. I don't think I have to buy it. I'll be able to spot it
But
right away.
there's like I was searching for like the deep fakes and stuff, and it brought up like all these deep fake sites like that. Like,
Oh, I'm sure there's a ton of deepfake porn. I'm
and
sure
I
that's been
found
around for
one
a
with
long time.
Kim Kardashian, and I've done a post on it, and it's on my page now. And if you look at it, you wouldn't have knew.
She's never looked real. She's always looked unreal. With her
Mr.
body
Deep Fake,
proportions.
it's called.
Her body proportions are unreal. All the Kardashian, their facial features are all very unreal. They say, oh, plastic surgery, plastic surgery, plastic surgery, but it could be just more of just an unreal caricaturization, an identity, like an unreal identity. That's, they just keep plumping up the lips, and all they have to do is press a couple of, change the zeros and ones in the code, and then their lips are more plump.
What I find amazing is the family is still has still captured the imagination of the country. I mean,
Well,
we're
Kanye, that was a big part of it.
13 years later.
Yeah, I think that they were about to die. They were about to fizzle out in the public eye, and then they got together with Kanye, and he is a spark plug. You know, there's a lot of energy and attention towards Kanye, and that was a very smart. I mean, if you want to continue the name of Kardashian when it's a dying entity, you hitch your ride to another, another shooting rocket star, and that was Kanye. But I guess now they're divorcing, and I mean, it's all fake, but it's brilliantly designed. You know how they keep the momentum going through these interweaving of
Entertainment
characters,
again,
entertainment. Yeah,
always
always, always, always.
entertained by it and watching it.
Always, for sure. For sure. The loosh trap, all of it. Bread and circus, back to the Romans. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. This was great.
Good.
Yeah, I think this is a good one. Thank you guys so much. I'm so honored to this is fun, first and foremost.
Same.
I could do this all day. Like, this is so fun. I could talk about this stuff all day, but I'm delighted by the fact that we get to connect in this way and chat
Definitely.
about this stuff. Yeah.
And let's see what this week brings then.
Yeah. Let's see what this week brings. Yeah. Look forward to talking to you guys again.
I joke to my 12-year-old daughter and my 7-year-old son that I'm a YouTube personality now.
You are, Murph. You've got over 1,000 views on YouTube right now, even though, even though it's just our voice, but I think that's powerful. Again, our sound waves, our vibrations, our true human vibrations. It's more so the voice register that we're sending out at the moment than than anything else. And I think we're doing something very cool and very special here. So,
Agreed.
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Until
Chat
next
soon.
time. Yeah. Okay.
Good night, guys.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.